Five, four, three, two. What's going on, Murder Yoga Nation? It's your boy C-Tech with another episode of the Grind and Jiu-Jitsu podcast. And today we have another mix of music and jiu-jitsu, and we're doing a nice flow, a nice energy flow here with my main man from New York, Doug motherfucking Robinson. What's going on, Doug?
What's up, dude? How are you?
Good. And if people don't know, Doug is also the lead singer of The Sleeping. And dude, in the New York scene, especially back when I was living in New York, The Sleeping, I actually was there on your final show, which was super sick. And then now y'all just come back, release a new album, and he's here on the pod just to talk some shit about music and of course the jujitsu. So Doug, for those people
Hell
who
yeah.
don't know, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name's Douglas. I've been in a band. I've been in the sleeping for like over 20 years. I think now it's like over 20 years. It's fucking crazy.
It is.
Yeah, so it's been over 20 years, and music is like my whole life, and it's pretty much like the only thing I identified with for many years until I started getting into jujitsu, like right after the pandemic, actually like kind of through the pandemic. I live in Jersey City, and
Okay.
I was living in LA, kind of just going for like a different feel of like, my wife and I just wanted to try something different, so we moved to LA. I worked for Primitive Skateboarding, like awesome skateboarding company. Something I wanted to do, like, at that point, it's like the only thing I like other than music is skateboarding and things like that. Like I'm not connected with skateboarding the way I am with music, but I love skateboarding. Like I appreciate any art form of creativity. So, I was working for a skate shop in the city, wound up going to LA for Primitive, and I I like took some jujitsu classes out there. They were kind of more like MMA, and
Okay.
it just I don't know what it was at that point in my life. It just didn't really click. Um, and I think before that, I can't remember my timeline if I was doing. I don't think yet at that point. Oh no, it was after, right? It was after. So yeah, um, so I was living out there. I took some jujitsu classes at this one spot. The guy was super nice. I can't remember his name, but I only took like a couple of classes, and I was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. At this point, I had already trained in Muay Thai. I fought in Muay Thai. Small fight, but fought in Muay Thai. I always want to try something once, right? So I stuck with that for a few years. It was really cool. Um, and then when I got back from LA, I kind of decided like, oh, I want to try jujitsu again. I don't know what it was that made me, made me want to do that. I don't know exactly what clicked, but I was like, I just want to try it, right? So I was going to a Henzo gym out here, really good people. Um, I had met my professor now, Babylonia, Rafael Babylonia, um, from Unity, and I had met him there because he was teaching, and eventually he went and started his own gym under Unity. And at that point, I was still so new to jujitsu. I didn't know if there was like an etiquette. So I was like, I started here at Henzo. I became really great friends with Professor Bobby, and like I loved his classes. So I was really bummed when he left, but I was like, hey, I'm gonna stay here and try and like keep going a little bit. And then like at some point, I think I just missed the energy of his classes, and missed his like friendship, because we were like connecting in class, and like there was just something special there. So I wound up making the switch, and I've been there ever since. And I just recently got my blue belt, which I'm like super super hyped on. Which I remember
Oh,
telling you, like, I didn't want to do this yet until I felt like I was at a place where like I'm like, you know what, I can talk about this a little more. And I thank you for being patient. But yeah, I'm now a blue belt under Professor Babylonia,
under
Unity
the
Jiu Jitsu
Unity
Jersey
flag.
City. Yeah, under the Unity
Oh,
flag. and he's directly under Murillo Santana. So
Yep.
it's really cool, and you don't get a belt, you don't get promoted easily at our gym, and it's very special to me. And I'm sure we have a lot to talk about and go through. It's kind of a long-winded, shortened version of my story of you know where I've gone in life to get into jiu-jitsu. I don't know when it clicked to just stay consistent, but I know when it clicked that, like, oh, I'm all about this, like on another level. And that was literally only my last competition, which was like I think almost 2 months ago, maybe a little less. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'll always try something once. So I've been training consistently there, but I never really had a goal of training, just to get better and just to like train. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm going to compete to see what that's like. And I remember when I said that, I started training differently for my first competition. Like I'm like, oh, I'm like training with a goal now. And like, even still at that point, I wasn't understanding fundamentals as much. And like, I mean, it was like piecemeal. I was slowly starting to understand things, but like not at all. And then my second competition, which was the recent one, I I don't know, like something clicked after
It
it,
clicked.
and I was
That's it.
I
It
was like, and
clicked.
and then I just started training like with a different goal the entire time. And like I my professor saw something in me to obviously promote me before even to have the notion to want to promote me before that competition. But like I don't know, something after that last competition, like it not only changed the way I perform, like for myself, but it changed my mindset when I train now. It's like I slow everything down. I'm really trying to learn and understand. I'm like piecing I'm piecing sequences together so much faster than I did even before the second competition. Like right before. Like honestly, I felt unsure of myself until after the second competition. Like there's always that thing when you get promoted, like that imposter syndrome of anything that you get promoted, anything, or you like build something. You're like, do I deserve this? Am I good at that? But like to get a belt under, you know, Unity and under Professor Babylonia, like I had no doubts when I got it. I was like, man, that's awesome. Like I do deserve this. And something happened that just like totally sparked my obsession. And like you hear all these blue belt blues things and all this stuff, and I haven't been a blue belt that long,
Enough
maybe a
to
little less
actually
than a
get
month.
there. Yeah,
but
yeah,
but honestly, like
yeah.
the way I feel, I'm like I don't feel like that's me, because I always want to learn and progress. And like I don't get like deterred by things like that. I think when I was a white belt for as many years as I was, like literally since the pandemic, I I think the only reason why I looked forward to the belt promotion in my head was because when you're a white belt, you think you're progressing internally, right? But like, of course there's stripes and things like that, but like
But you need that
y-
little bit of
yeah,
validation.
exactly. Like there needs to be that, just not like an ego validation, but like
Right.
I, I'm like, you know what? I won't ever give a fuck when I get another belt, because I just want to do this all the time, every chance I can. But the first switch was just like, okay, it's tangible. There is that progression of, hey, you deserve this. And then I'm like, cool. Now I don't care about stripes. I don't care about belts. Like, of course, when it happens, I'll be so proud when the next things come and whatever. But like now I'm finally at that like that moment where I'm like, okay, cool. It's real. Like it's not just me in my head feeling better, which is
Exactly.
important, but it's my professor saying something's right here. You deserve this.
And
And now
let
I'm
and
like,
let's put
cool.
it into
Whatever happens next.
perspective. Your coach could murder you whenever the hell he wants. So the fact that he gives you a belt, basically telling, I'm just saying in general, in the big scope, he's basically telling other people, I trust this dude to wear this belt under my name. That's how I always took it. You know, like
Yeah,
whenever
yeah,
I got a promotion, that was the way I always took it. But let me ask you this. So you're coming performing in front of thousands of people, right? You have a band behind you. You have four
yeah,
or five dudes behind you. So it's a
yeah.
crew, it's a team. And even though you train with other people in jiu-jitsu, how did it feel to be on the mat by yourself?
Yeah, that's such a good question because I compare the two a lot. I compare being in a band and being a musician. I compare it to jujitsu a lot because, like I said kind of earlier, and I definitely want to get into it more, and maybe now's the time. Like, I've never identified with anything else the way I do with music, right? Like, music is everything I've ever known, for 20 years doing it full time, you know, like nonstop till the wheels fall off. That's like my identity, right? And I'm my own person, but like I want to only identify with things that mean the world to me, and I don't care about anything else. So like music is that one thing, and then jujitsu came along, and it feels the exact same in such a different headspace, right? Like it's like, and it's so weird because I don't ever think about being alone and being with a band. Like I just think about the energy of creating and like being driven. So like when I'm like on the mat, especially competing, I just think in my brain, nothing's gonna stop me, right? And that's how I am on stage. That's how I am with making a record. Like even if the show isn't that good or I lose in a competition, I won gold my first competition in my division, and I won second place. I won silver in the last one, and like I was stoked. I was like super happy, right? Because like I don't care. Like obviously losing in the moment, I'm like fuck, I lost, but like I don't care, right? Like what I really get excited about in anything I do with like my passions, I, I like get excited about the the journey to that moment. I love that. So I'm like, yo, nothing's gonna fucking stop me. Like, even if I lose, I'm like, I'm not losing. I'm fucking winning everything. Like that's my mindset, right? So like, it's the same thing with a band. Like, yo, I'm not fucking stopping until this record comes out or until I write this exactly the way I want it. Like, so it's really cool because I feel the same way I feel with music for something else. And that's like so fucking cool to me. And like, I
It's
never
exciting.
understood. It's super exciting. And like, I never understood why jujitsu was such an obsession because when I first started getting into it, it was more just like, for me, it was more just like something to try and something to do. But then when I started realizing not only the complexity and not only the beauty in the art of it, but also the friends you make, and like you start surrounding yourself with people who like barely drink, you know, or they only have like the one night they drink with their friends. Like you start to realize there's like a very positive energy, and especially when it's like a proper and I'm not just pigeonholing because I'm sure there are great places, but like when it's like
Absolutely.
a proper Brazilian jiu-jitsu gym and not some like kind of MMA broy feeling to me, like there's something beautiful about that. And my gym is like proper Brazilian jiu-jitsu,
Yeah,
like
traditional. It's
yeah,
traditional.
it's like super traditional, and it's beautiful. And like I love surrounding myself with that, and to be able to like feel the way I felt about music my whole life, to now be like middle aged, half of my life is over, and now I have this new spark. It's like it's really cool, it's super interesting to me because I break things down in my head so much, like I'm an overthinker, and I'm just like I can't believe at this point in my life there's something brand new that I'm like wide-eyed about and like in wonder. And I don't know, there's like something really cool about that. And like I said, like it didn't even really feel that way until very recently. I was into it, but now I'm like, oh, this is going to be something I want to master. You know what I mean? Like,
And this is actually a good little segue, because if you really think so, everybody has a different type of brain, like we all
yeah,
think differently, one way or another. So
yeah,
like it's crazy. So traditional hit your brain to the point where it was like, yo, you know what? This structure, this plan, the way that they structure it works for me the best. And then it's crazy because I'm too hood rat for a traditional gym. I
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
I'm like I get there when I get there. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Totally,
no
totally,
if ands or buts of listen, I'm a grown ass man. I pay grown ass bills. I don't have time for traditional. So
for
I
sure.
go with a little bit more non-traditional, 10th planet, the whole nine yard, So it's really
Yeah.
cool that you kind of bring that's right. Like some people, sometimes I fail to realize, sometimes the structure actually works for certain people. And that's really cool. That's really freaking cool. So how long? So you said you've been training since the pandemic. So that's what you're on 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, yeah, like kind of right at the end of the pandemic when it was basically kind of when it was like a little safer to kind of be about when you're like, oh, like okay, we're in like you're like allowed to kind of go out a little more, like things were opening up a little bit. You know, we were training upstairs in this very it was awesome. It was like this very small place that we called Speakeasy. Professor named it Speakeasy. It was on the top of a juice bar in
Okay.
in Jersey City, and it was like a room. I mean, it was such a small room,
20
and
by 20,
someone,
baby.
it was crazy. It was like it might have been like even less than that. It was insane. Like 8 heaters in the room, like standalone heaters, like cranked, and a few of us would go and train, and it was so special, man. And then
It builds your
he wound
character. That builds character.
yeah, and it's just cool. It feels really good to have been a part of that. You know what I mean? Like now
Absolutely.
Unity, Unity JC is like thriving. It's a really cool place. And it's like, it's traditional, but it's got a modern feel in the sense that like everyone's very forward thinking, right? It's so it, like we hold like 10th Planet in high regards and things like that, like, right? Like, everyone respects everybody, all different styles, but it's cool because it's a really great place and people are coming more and more because it hasn't been open that long. People are coming more and more. It's growing. But from where it started was just so cool. And like, it says speakeasy on our geese. Like, it's like, well, it's not like McDojo type stuff, but like, he'll order geese and, anyone who gets them, like, it'll say speakeasy like on the side or whatever. And I'm like, I was a part of that. Like, it's cool. And
Yeah.
and it's funny too because I was going through like serious depression, like for on and off like that whole time. And even though I would have moments where I wouldn't go in for like a few weeks, a month, like I was just like in bed, I wouldn't like leave my bed or my house. Like I've gotten through that. And now I'm like, I think inadvertently jujitsu was what got me out of it. I just didn't realize because I didn't like in those earlier moments, I didn't consistently stick with it. Like I was there and I would never leave, but I just would take breaks of not going because I wouldn't even leave my bed. But I think sticking with it made me realize like I think this is what helped me like over like anything. You know what I mean? And music too. I mean, I was definitely forced on tour
Absolutely.
and forced out of my depression or whatever, but jujitsu has always been there. And like not only is my professor, but he's a great friend, and all of us are like a great family. Everyone cares for everybody, and like he would just check in on me just to see how I was doing. He'd be like, "Yo, like I haven't seen you." He's like, I don't care when you come back. I just want to make sure you're okay." And like
That's
I
what's up.
remember like being so upset that I wouldn't leave the house, but I was like, man, that's so cool to like, it was just really cool. And um, I I just think being there was so healthy for me, and I didn't even realize it because I would stay away from it in those moments. And now I'm like, I'm I literally try to go there every chance I can. Like every night I try to get there. I try to do no gi, engi. I try to make all the open mats. I'm there every night I can be there. Um,
How does the wife feel about it?
she loves it. She does. She's like, yo, my wife's super supportive of anything I do. Like, she's very just like she's an independent person. So it's like, she's very into like, yeah, go. You know what I mean? Like, she does. It's like not even a thing. It's like, how was class? She supports it. I'm actually competing next year in at IBJJF, the Euros in Portugal. So like, yeah, so she's gonna come. So I mean, it's like she's very stoked to
She's
watch
fan.
when
Yeah,
she
okay.
can, and also like
Wait,
we're gonna have a
to
vacation.
compete in that, don't you need a passport, a European passport to do the IBJF, or no?
You just need a passport just to go over
Just to
to
go.
go overseas.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay, my bad. Continue. My
yeah, yeah.
bad.
So yeah, so I mean, like it's and we could talk about that stuff too. But yeah, I mean, she's just down, and now she, and that's the other thing, right? Like the music thing and the jujitsu thing. Like I tried competing, I enjoy it. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep doing it, and then all of a sudden, our professor's like, hey, like who's interested in going to Euros? Like sends out this email. And like I'm like, I've traveled my whole life through music. Now I have this other thing that feels the same. Why not travel with this? Like, obviously I'm never going to be a professional, but like I love it that
Still,
much. And like to say I did that is like another thing that I would be super proud of in its own way. So I was like, hey, as long as the new band doesn't have anything going on, like I'm down 100%. And I'm pretty sure we have like an open space in January. So I'm gonna do it. And it's like, and back to the wife part, like she's like, yeah, cool, let's go. She's dope too because she's gonna come later so that when we train, we're all together and we're focused. And then she's gonna try to come the day that it's my time to compete. And if she misses it, then whatever, we have a vacation. And like I love when my wife supports me, but like I don't care if she sees me because like I'm just gonna
it's more
be
pressure.
focused anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
yeah, yeah.
even that. It's not even that because I genuinely can shut things like that off. I mean, my wife married a musician, and the minute I met her, I was like, "Hey, you're marrying a dude who like will do this until I die." And of course, I fell in love, and it got harder to leave all the time and stuff. But my wife knows when I have something in my head, like it doesn't leave my head. Like my last competition, I cut like 21 pounds in 2 weeks, and like I literally didn't eat shit. I was eating like almonds every day.
Orange.
I'm lifting, I'm running, and she just knows. She knows that when something's in my brain, she's like, she lets it go, like lets me do it because she just knows like he's gonna do it. So even if she was there the whole time, it would be cool. But like, she's like, hey, I'm just gonna come later. Like it'll be more time for her to be with the dog. And then it'll by the time she gets there, she either sees me or she gets there as soon as I'm done and I'm like, let's party. You know what I mean? So
That's cool that you're able
um
to keep it professional. Like you're like,
yeah,
hey, my mind is on this, and this is where it's at right now. Everything else doesn't matter, and I'm sorry, but I have to focus on that, or else it'll fuck me up. Are you
totally.
having a tour soon? Are you going on tour?
So
Maybe, or I don't know if you
so
can disclose that.
I have a new band. Um I'm
Oh,
it's crazy. It's like kind of hard to announce. It's like we're not announcing yet.
okay.
Um, but I'll tell you like off the record because like
Yeah,
I'm like stoked to announce it. But yeah, I have a new band. We're pretty much in the middle of finalizing everything and announcing really soon. But it's gonna be probably a busy year. It's gonna be like it's gonna be a lot of cool shit like coming out and happening. But that's why I'm trying to kind of get all of my ducks in a row for jujitsu as well because like I want that experience too. And like the more I keep doing it in these cool ways, like my next goal is how do I train every day when I'm on tour? That's like my
oh,
next thing. Like
that's
like
easy.
I'm
You call
I'm bringing a
C-Tech.
mat. Yeah, like yeah. So like, like I'm like, you know, I, this stuff is just only going to help me continue to go, oh, it's very easy to do everything at once, because I don't think I ever get overwhelmed necessarily of how much shit I do all the time, like, with touring and like living a, balancing life and stuff. But I'm starting to realize the more I do things, the more I go, oh, that's easier than I realized, like I walk my dog, I take my dog to the park all the time. He's my son, like, but there are times where I'm like very busy and I can't take him on like a full walk, but then I take him to the park for like 30 minutes instead of an hour. And then I come back and I'm like, oh, there was plenty of time to just do that and he's happy. I didn't have to just walk around the block with him and like get him inside. Like, I start to realize that if I just do the thing, it makes it easier to realize like, yeah, you can do that. It sounds obvious, but in the speed of life, you don't always think of like how easy it is to make time for things that are important when you have other things that are important, right? So like, oh, I can't take you to the dog park for an hour. I got to leave somewhere. But then it's like, well, let me just take him down, let him sniff the turf for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, I can still do that. It doesn't have to just be a walk around the block and make him feel like he's just got to like do his thing and that's it. Kind of the same things applying in my brain to like everything else. Like I'm making more of it happen to realize it's easy, you know?
Well, I mean, when the time comes and you are on the road, you could talk to your boy C-Tech, because your boy C-Tech
Hell yeah.
I had contracts all across the country. So I got to train in some of the best gyms across the country, and it was amazing. And until this day, like my jujitsu would have been crap without those experiences of just going
Yeah.
into other gyms, and sometimes they would completely wreck me, and then sometimes I would completely wreck, and then it was like, oh cool, like damn, maybe I'm not as bad as I really think, or
Yeah.
you pick up certain moves, you pick up certain dynamics and certain patterns and movements that, and there is a difference between West Coast jiu-jitsu and East Coast jiu-jitsu. Like
Yeah,
East
for
Coast
sure.
jiu-jitsu and West Coast jiu-jitsu is so different, and a lot of people don't realize it, but when you actually do both, you're like, oh no, yeah, there is a slight difference. Like,
Yeah.
um, so now you're going on the road, so you're gonna be on that nomad stuff kind of. So, like you gotta hit up
Yeah.
your boy. I'll let you know some spots, man.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for that stuff. Like, I know, my professor has a ton of recommendations too. And like, I have homies that train also. So like, I'm really stoked to like just go into a different city and call up my boy and be like, yo, like, come meet me, like bring a mat or, I'm who knows how it'll be maybe next year. Like I have someone, dedicated with me, like who knows. Right. But my point is
Never
like, I'm just
know.
excited. I'm excited for like the different ways I'm gonna do it. Like that's a big reason I'm really excited to go to Portugal too. Like I'm excited for our professor to like show us around like and train. Like okay, we're going here or whatever, because he's been there a bunch of times. Like it's just really cool. I'm excited for that, and I think I think now that it's becoming the obsession that it is, I really want to. It's almost like when you play music with great musicians, you like need to be up to par with them for you to feel good about yourself. And like I see the way that everybody trains at my gym and I want to like, I know we're all proud of each other, but I want to make them proud by like really
Represent,
learning
yeah.
and representing. So like, a lot of these guys, they take it on that level of like a serious consciousness, a serious plane. And like I get there, but I'm just scratching that surface. So like being around them more and showing them, hey guys, I'm coming, like we're going to Europe, like I'm gonna train every day with you guys, like let's rock. Like I'm really excited for that too, because like I said, it's only getting stronger, this like urge to do it all the time. And like I respect everybody at my gym so much for how they like view jujitsu and how they approach it and how they learn. And like, I'm like, I want to get on that level to show them that I'm here for them too. Like, it's a singular art, but at the same time, it's
It's a
like
team sport.
it's a
It
team.
is.
Yeah, like
It
it's
is.
very
It's
cool.
a
And like
team sport.
it's really interesting, man. And like, I consider like pretty much everybody at that gym has become like an insanely close friend. Everybody. And it's just like I don't know, it's so cool, man. I mean, I can talk about it for hours how it makes me feel, and it's
Have
yeah.
you Orlando area? See, we have like I'm gonna call it. We have an open gym policy basically. So we
Yeah.
have a bunch of grapplers. So we have something called it's the famous Orlando Open Mat. So
Okay.
every Sunday you have I'm gonna be nice and I'm gonna say between 30 to 50 grapplers come in and we're all trying to test ourselves and make sure that we're in competition mode.
Yeah.
And man, when I say those open mats get crazy, it is absolutely insane. So I mean,
So
you
sick.
being in Jersey City too. I mean, Jersey City has some good because I believe that Henzo that you're talking about isn't that Damian Anderson's gym?
I actually don't. I don't know. That's the thing, right? Like, here's the thing. Like with me, it's like I don't really, and this is where I need to like eventually kind of grow in that sense. Like, I don't really follow it on that level, right? Like, it's very
Got you.
weird. Like, I don't, like
Well,
Muay
that was
Thai.
early in your career, and that was
Yeah, well,
early in
not,
your career.
but not only that, like I trained for Muay Thai for like 5, 6 years. Like I can't tell you any Muay Thai fighter's name except for like Boakawa. You know what I mean? Like I don't follow things like that. Like I've only started watching competitions because everyone watches competitions and gets like hyped. Even now, as I compete, like I'm like, oh, I got to start watching like matches soon. I just want to start like watching it.
Oh
But like
yeah.
I don't like follow those things. I don't really know the history and the lore of like, you know, of like even, like a De La Kiva, like I know who invented
The
it, but I've never,
lineages
you know
and all of
what I mean?
that.
Like I don't
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
and I think I do want to start diving into that at some point because it's just interesting. But also
There's
like
time.
I'm just like so stoked on what I learn in our gym every day. And like I like, I'm like obsessed over it in my journal. Like that to me is kind of, you know,
That's what you have to
where
stick
I'm
to be honest with you. You
yeah.
like you could go into that and get all that information that you want, but can you hear me? Did I mute my
Yeah.
microphone? Oh,
No,
okay,
no,
okay.
no. No, I can hear you.
Um,
But yeah, I
you
mean
could
I
go
do
into a
though,
deep dive. You could deep dive
Yeah.
all you want, but like it's all about the process of just getting into that gym and just getting shit done. And one thing that I always heard, jujitsu so hard it makes life easy. And for me, I went through a depression spout, in my
Yeah.
family or whatever. So I'm teaching jujitsu twice a week, and then I'm training jujitsu
Sick.
3 times. So I'm
Yeah.
almost like 4 to 5 times a week now, and I'm
Yeah.
freaking sore. I'm fucking dead, but it makes life easy. Like I don't care what my boss says. I know I can kill you in my mind. You know what I mean? Like I really don't care what you really have to say about me. It's cool. Like it's fine.
Yeah. It
Um,
it does add some sort of like I don't know, there is something really special about the way I feel during the day when I'm like just doing my thing, right? Like I don't, it's just like it's like this excitement because I think, it also feels so good to be active in a combat, in a combat kind of way, like a combative kind of way. Like, I'm 41 and this is the most physical, like I've ever, I mean, being in a band is physical, but not like on this level, right? Like this is the most physical I am. And I really try to train 4 to 5 times a week also. I mean, Tuesdays and Thursdays are no gi and gi. So obviously I love like gi is my thing, but I love no gi. We have a great professor. We have a great no gi professor. Like, I do that. Monday I train. Wednesday I usually have the dog at home, but I try to go at the end of the day. Fridays I do personal training with our one of our brown belts, Liz, who happens to be Professor Babilonia's wife. Like I do personal training with her, then open mat, and then some Sundays I try to hit open mat as much as I can, you know. So I really, but it's crazy because like I am, and not saying nobody else is, but like I am extremely busy. Like I like, you know, family, bands, you know, I work at the
Dog.
record shop on the weekends and during the week as well. Like, you know, I work at an awesome record shop. My dog and my cat are my children. Like, and my dog, like, I give him the attention that you would give like your son. Like, that dude is with me all the time, right? So like my life is stacked, but every day I can be there, I'm always there. You know what I mean? Like, as much as I can be. And there's times where, like, you know, I can't because I have stuff I have to do. And I'm like, I miss like 3 days of class. But like, I don't think to myself, oh, I'll go easy the first day I'm back or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, it's Tuesday. I'll hit those two classes, like, whatever, you know?
Balls to
So
the wall, baby.
yeah, man, I really love it. And just because I also like love the vibe, you know, like it's so funny because I don't really go out much, right? Like I don't it's very hard for me to go out. I don't go to bars, you know, like my drinking days are pretty much like over, you know, like I have like a glass of wine here and there and my brain starts to already shut it down before it even finishes, right? Like I don't really go out. And I remember there was like a moment I was talking to my wife about something and she's like, you should I was like supposed to go somewhere, and she's like, "Oh, you should go out. Like, you know, like you should go out and like, you know, enjoy yourself, have like a social life." And I'm like, I I'm actually out every night. It's just a different kind of out. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I never really thought of it like that. Like, I'm literally at the gym every single night. I mean, you know what it's like being there on a Friday night. You could be anywhere in the world on a Friday night. Orlando, you could be on South Street fucking flipping out, but like you're at the gym, you know, and like you stay there with your homies afterwards, you're sitting on the mat, sweating, laughing, like, you know, making fun of each other,
Nothing
whatever,
better.
right? And
Nothing
it's
better.
like I go home and then I get to be with the other people I love, and I'm like, this is fucking dope. You know what I mean?
Complete.
Like
You feel
it's
complete.
yeah, it's really cool. So I mean, that's that's like my social life, man. You know, I mean, of course I have music and that's gonna take precedence when it comes around. You know, when we have shows and the new band starts doing our thing. But I mean, you know, how do I do it and do that? I'm like very excited for that chapter of my
Oh,
life, you know.
that's gonna be fun. But take us into this new album that just came out of nowhere. Now, I try to stay on social media, but life punches you in the face. So I've been like just trying to grind the podcast, but I'm working, teaching jujitsu. Like my focus was always towards jujitsu, learning new techniques because I want to give my students the best that I can give. But so talk me through you're doing this jujitsu journey. So how long did it take you to write this new record? It came out like what, last month?
No, the new record came out last August.
Last
Yeah,
August. It was
yeah,
last.
yeah, yeah. It's
That's
been out. Yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah. Uh, It took it didn't really take that long actually. I mean, we wrote it pretty quickly. I think what happened, like, you know, what happened was we were going to play a show, and you know everybody lives in different parts of the world. At that point, Cameron, our guitar player, was living in Mexico. Joe
Oh
lives in
shit.
LA. Yeah, so like it takes a lot to get us together. But we were supposed to play this show, and it was it was at Irving Plaza, and it was right when I think it was like 2 years ago when maybe yeah, like it was like 2 years ago when COVID got like really bad again for a minute, and we were all together and we were practicing at the time the bar that I don't think Sal owned it anymore, but our friends owned this bar that Sal used to own too, called Amityville Music Hall, which is like great venue on Long Island, very well known venue. Um, and they always like take care of us. They let us fucking practice there when there's like no shows going on. They're like, "Yo, keep the place like whatever," you know. So we were rehearsing there, and when we found out that the show was getting canceled because everybody at Irving Plaza caught COVID, we were like,
Oh
"Yo, like we
man.
shouldn't do this anyway. Like, you know, we should probably like not do this and like risk anything, even if they got a whole new staff. They were trying to find new staff to just work the show." So we're like, oh, let's just cancel it, whatever. Like it's just safer for everybody. So we canceled, and we're like, well, we're all here. Like, do you guys want to like jam? We like whatever, And we wrote the first song on that record in like an hour, and we were just like, oh fuck, this is sick. And then we went back in to the studio that we as a part of our history, Mike Birnbaum and Chris Bittner at Applehead Studios, like we went back and like basically it was just like the family back together again, and we made the record. It was really sick too because you know I'm not a drunk kid running around anymore. I'm like an adult, and like after the sleeping, I had joined a band that became Night Verses, which
Night
was another band
versus.
I sang for, and I love those dudes to death, and those dudes really taught me about discipline. It's actually pretty cool, man. Like, I feel like they helped me a lot in my life with discipline. Like they're very big on practicing and perfection. And I at that point, like the sleeping was just like we were just always on like autopilot if the plane was like crashing. Like we were just 1,000 miles an hour, didn't matter, but we like made it happen because we like loved it, right? Where like Night Versus was definitely like, all right, we're gonna practice for 8 hours today, and in my head, I was like, this is fucking insane. But it really helped me a lot. And I think I owe a lot to those dudes sometimes more than I realize. But yeah, so sang for them. And by the time it came to write the new sleeping record, I've just become more self-aware. I'm like way more self-aware. I was still training at that point, so I was definitely still I was getting into jujitsu, even though it, like I said, it clicked only more recently in this obsessive way, but I was still in it and loving it. So I just had this like different mindset into writing a record that like I normally don't have. Like when I write a record, I just like completely shut down, and like all I care about is the vibe, right? And I still do, but now I've become more self-aware to also go, well, this sounds cool, this is catchy, this I want to write this lyric instead. I know I can find a better word for instead of this word. Like I've never been like that. It was always just what comes out, that's it. And now I've honed in on that, but now I can refine that, and I actually really enjoy that feeling. And I think it's crazy because as I'm saying that, that's like learning a jujitsu like fucking entry or something. Like, it's like, oh, I just did it, but like I got to do it better. So it's like weird. It's like these things are, like it's like it, it's just a cool feeling to know that that record was sort of made with this new mindset that I have, where I really treat my craft differently. You know what I mean? Like I care so much more than just like blind passion, which I love. I still think having that fire needs to be there no matter what. But like I'm also able to go, oh, I can do this better rather than just, oh, what's first is it. So like, we made that record very self-aware, and I think it's the best record the Sleeping's ever made. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people who've listened to it have said the same thing. We just released it ourselves, and we didn't really care how many people it reached. We were just like, we just want to put out a record, right? So we crowdfunded it. We made like 30 grand in like 7 days. Like people like you know funded it. It was fucking awesome. We put it out. We reached as far as we could with our resources, and the people who heard it said it's the best thing we've ever done. And I'm just super fucking proud of that because it was a different way of creating. So yeah, I love that record. For anyone who hasn't listened to it, check it out.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, my podcast is known for a specific question, and I know your journey is technically new, but you're probably
Yeah.
run into this, and I'm not sure with a traditional gym, but we're gonna find out. Have you ever trained with a training partner, talked shit, and paid the ultimate price with an L?
No, and
I know it.
and honestly, like it's weird because like our gym is like not like that, and it's all I know there's some places where it's like kind of all in good fun, whatever, but like our gym it's like it's so crazy, man. Like, you know, we're like locked in a different way. You know what I mean? Like it's like beyond respectful. It's it's I can see everybody's brains like working in overtime, like in the roles, and you know it everyone goes, you know, everybody goes, but like our gym is just dead silent when we're rolling. It's like dead silent until a
Mm.
professor is like, all right, you know, you and you go together, pick your own round, whatever, right? Like there is like no talking, and it's fucking crazy. I mean, it's awesome for me because I'm such an overthinker. It's bad for me when I hear nothing, but I'm starting to like slow everything down, and it's actually really fucking awesome. You know, like I'm starting to really enjoy that silence. You know what I mean?
Becoming
Like, yeah,
one
there's
with
like,
the jujitsu.
yeah, dude. I mean, and of course, like, you know, we're playing music, but even the music is like it's secondary. Like it's not blasting, you know, it's just there to like keep us going. But like it's awesome, man. Like it's I think those funny like shit talk roles are kind of more after class when like you know we're like oh
That's what I
shit,
mean.
but like yeah, but like it's still like not like that there. And again, I'm not saying it doesn't, people don't fuck with each other, but it's very like locked in a different way. And maybe, and I've never, you know, to be fair, I've only really trained at traditional gyms, you know, Henzo.
Right.
So like you
Right.
know I don't know what that other thing feels like, but like, you know, Jason, our no-gi professor, or our no-gi professor, like he's like the funniest dude ever. And like he's actually awesome because like in a role, he's like, oh shit, like you know, he brings like that like comedic element to it. And I love his classes too. Like he's fucking great, man. Like everybody at our gym is so good at what they do, and like I just really love each element everybody brings. And I think more for that like that that like more, you know, like that airiness comes from like Nogi when Jason gets everybody hyped. Like, you know, someone, you know, like someone throws a reversal or something and he's like, oh shit. And then like you know, you counter that and he's like, oh shit. Like, you know, it's so funny because like you're so zoned out, but like you're laughing because you're like, dude, he's the best. Like he just loves it, you
No,
know?
and
Um,
not for nothing, when you start seeing your students have a progression and
yeah.
you're able to see counter after counter, that's a chip, that's a pat on my back. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, totally.
I love to see my students like just go through progressions like, oh shit, that's the
Yeah.
fuck I'm
Yeah.
talking about. I
Yeah.
wish that was shit was on camera because that would get a
Yeah.
million views. That's like one of the best feelings in the freaking world. Now, what's your go-to in jiu-jitsu submission wise? Like what do you find yourself getting? If you know, if I know you're still in the you know, you just got your blue belt, but what are
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
some of the submissions that you like you're starting to like really get the hang of?
Honestly, like my go-to that I'm always trying to go for is the Americana. Like
So
I love it because like I'm starting to, you know, and again I say this on my level, right? Like I'm not trying to sound like I'm like, yeah, I'm, you know,
no.
I'm starting to like really understand like top pressure and like apply pressure a lot a lot more than I ever did. Like I'm starting to realize there's a way to make yourself cement than just being like a heavy dude on somebody, whatever, right? So like I'm starting to get better at that. And we one of our newest professors, his name is Brian, he he taught me that he like I was rolling with him once, and I mean the dude just became like cement in like a second and I couldn't breathe. And I remember after he rolled, I was like, how do you feel so heavy? Like how? And he just told me this really cool thing. And he's like, dude, he's like, something I really like to do. He's like, I love to match the person's breath because when they're breathing up and you breathe up, when they breathe down, you breathe. When they breathe out, you breathe
You
out,
breathe out.
and you make yourself like heavier. And like I was just like, oh my god, like that's I. It was like torture underneath him. So I've been applying that as I feel like I'm also progressing with top pressure. And I've been really loving that, and I'm starting to make myself more cement, and it's harder to get out of like my side control. Um, and like I just love the Americana. It's like right there, and I like fighting for that arm. There's just something fun about kind of fighting for that wrist, and like so. But also, I mean, to be fair, like I'm not really that dope at anything else yet. So like that's my go-to. But um I have really great people with me that like really want to help me. Like there's a purple belt. There is a very good friend of mine. His name is Eric. He's fucking awesome. Steven, another purple belt at the gym. He's fucking awesome. He's always working with me. We do no-gi together a lot. And then Harold, who's like one of the sickest blue belts ever. He's become a very good friend of mine, and we go to open mat together. He helps me out a lot, and like amongst everybody else, obviously, and of course, the ultimate, obviously Professor Bobby, like being there for me, and everybody. Like I have really great people to learn from, and I really love everybody's approach to it because I'm starting to understand more. I'm starting like, I never liked pulling guard. I love pulling guard. I mean, I'm not and I'll be the first to admit it, right? Like I was always like, I mean, my first competition, uh, I remember Professor asking me, he's like, "What's your game plan?" And I'm like, honestly, I'm waiting for this dude to pull because I think I'm pretty good at passing, and that's what happened. And I did exactly what I said I was gonna do. My first match ever, I I I won by submission Americana with like 13 seconds left, right? And I saw it all.
Hey.
And it was fucking sick. I mean, it was so sick, right? But like, I'm always like, oh, okay, I want this guy to pass me. But then my second match of my second competition, the guy didn't pull guard, right? Like we scuffled,
Ah.
and then I wound up kind of getting right into his side control, and I was like, fuck. And then I started realizing, like, talking with Harold and everyone there, it's like, well, what's your plan B? And I'm like, you know what? Maybe my plan B should be something different. So I've been like really trying to work on like pulling guard. We've been working on like Delahiva a lot, and I'm like, I like this. I actually like the sequence of like you know getting into single leg X. I love the feeling of single leg X. It just feels fucking so like awesome. Like when I get into like a single leg X, I'm like I feel like I'm like locked into like a missile like tracking. So like I don't know, it's just something weird. Like it just feels awesome, right? And like I'm not that successful yet of getting into it all the time, but like when I get it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I've been really trying to work like Delahiva to single leg X, and we've been working on that a bunch. And I'm just continuing in my roles. I'm doing like the first half of our roles of the evening. I'm on the bottom, and the next half I'm trying to pass. So I'm really trying to do everything, and I'm speaking humbly, but I do feel like I'm progressing. You know what I mean? Like I really do. And of course, it's a never ending. It's like pretty much a never ending art. But like I don't. I I'm definitely. I would like to be as modest as I can because I really truly believe that I'm still so fragile with it. But I'm also gonna not lie and say like I'm not proud of myself. I'm learning, and I do feel like I'm really progressing, especially also it was fucking insane how mentally my whole shit switched the minute the blue belt went on. Like it was actually fucking crazy. Like I remember my last role as a white
So let me
belt.
let me let me say
It,
this real quick. Your
yeah,
last role. Keep that thought.
yeah, yeah,
How I knew that you drank the jujitsu Kool-Aid. Okay, so
yeah,
this is how I knew. You
yeah,
made your post when you won, and the first thing you said was, "Hey, it was a great, yeah, I did great, second place, blah blah blah." Right on your second paragraph, when you started to shout everybody out on everybody who helped you in, let's just say, your training camp or who was there during your journey to this tournament. I've done many tournaments. I know where that's at. I know a jiu-jitsu person is drinking the jiu-jitsu Kool-Aid when it's the win was never about me. It was about all the work that we've done together. Like everybody had a part of this W. And that's exactly what I got. And when I saw that dub, one, I was like, oh shit, one, he's actually grinding. That's what the podcast's about. Oh shit, he's really grinding. I might try to
Yeah.
get him on. And then you got the blue belt, and you said, dude, I got promoted. I can now do your podcast because I feel
Yeah.
comfortable of doing it. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is and that's exactly what I said. That's some G shit right there. Like you waited because you went ghost for a while. And I was like, oh, he's busy. You know what I mean? Like I know he's busy. So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna wait. And then I got my blue belt. I'm ready to go. I was like, that motherfucker did it and remembered me. Super sick.
Dude, I mean, like I wanted to do it because I like talking about it, you know what I mean? But I think it was just a moment of like I don't want to feel like a parody of myself being like, and there's nothing wrong with being a white belt, obviously. We all start there. But like I just felt like I didn't really have the almost like the right to speak on it yet. I love it, but like I don't know, like, and I'm basically I'm just fresh on a blue belt. Like I'm basically like a white belt with like a little bit of dye on it, but like honestly, like no, and I really again go back to this. Like I say this humbly, but you do not get a belt at Unity JC unless you deserve it. I mean, like legitimately, and everywhere. Of course, there's a lot of that. I'm not down. I'm not discrediting any other gyms, whatever. But for what I know that like you do not get a belt there until it is actually time. So like when I got it, that's why I hit you up too, because I was like, you know what, like there was no doubt in my mind when I got it. I was like, I fucking deserve this. You know what I mean? There was doubt before I got it, like wondering at the promotion if I would get it in my head, like, but I really was like, I would not be upset if I don't get it because it's not a stripe, right? Like as a white belt, when I was getting stripes, it definitely felt important to me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm progressing, I'm getting closer. But my gym and I see how it is and I see how Professor Bobby is, like I when it came time to the next promotion as a belt, I was like, if I don't get it at this promotion, I'm just not ready. And that I can get down with. I can respect that and totally believe that. Like if I'm not ready and he sees that, all good. I'm here no matter what now, right? But then I got it and instantly I was like, oh, I deserve this. Like I feel the difference. And that role as a blue belt, that first role was so sick. And now every time I've been rolling, I like approach it with such a different mindset than literally like the day before, the last rolls before blue belt were so different than the first rolls as blue belt. It's so crazy. Like mentally
Wait,
there
you're
it
saying
just
that
boosted.
it unlocked power, right? It
It
unlocked.
did.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
did.
All right. All
It
right.
something happened where I was like, like even the approach was smoother. Like I didn't feel unsure of myself. Now when I lose, I'm losing and I'm going, I know why I lost. I think before I would just lose because I'm like surviving or I'm like, you know, kind of like tense. And of course, I'm still learning. I'm still a beginner, right? I'm not trying to talk in any way like I'm some, you know, prodigy. I fucking get my ass kicked.
Nobody get a misconception. He is
Right,
not
right.
saying he's a badass in jiu-jitsu. He's just
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that he feels good on the
Yeah,
vibe that he's riding right now. All right.
exactly.
So
And
fuckers, step the
yeah.
fuck back.
No, like it really did change something, and I'm grateful for that. And now I'm like I said, like it doesn't matter now. Now it's just like I'm excited to get better. Whenever the next things come, who cares? Like I'm just excited to keep getting better under such a great professor, such great professors and instructors, obviously directly under Bobby, directly under Marilla Santana, of course. Like, I am so excited to just like keep going and like see what that's about and like continue my friendship with all these people, like everybody at the gym is so awesome. I mean, everybody. It's like I love all of those people so much, and I'm so grateful that I found something else I connect with the same way I connect with music. Because, like, you know, music I'll always have as a listener, but someday the clock's going to run out as a performer, and like
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
scared of not knowing what that's going to feel like when I have nothing else. I mean, I kind of already know what that feels like because, in the Sleeping First hiatus, went on a hiatus, and Night Versus, when we amicably split ways, I lost so much confidence and respect in myself because I just felt like I had zero. I had nothing after that. I was like, I lost all, I kind of distanced myself from friends through bands because I was like, I feel like a loser, like because like I don't have these things anymore and that's all I can associate with. And it just felt crazy. But now the rest of my life is committed to this art that like I'm always gonna be learning and learning. Like I'm never gonna like lose that spark of wanting to like keep learning this. And it's cool because this is like the next part of my life. It's really interesting to me at least.
So so we already know the jujitsu and the music. Something's brewing. We got that. So are you planning to compete? At least in the local circuit, like the Nagas or grappling in the streets, to prepare for the IBJJF Euros.
I think I'm just gonna train a bunch because I was gonna do a competition in November, but just with everything going on, I'm just like, oh shit, like I don't think I can train every day because I'm gonna do that anyway, but I don't think I can get into the mindset for November with everything I have going on where I can get into the mindset in Europe. I mean, we're talking about Europe every day, like those of us who are going, and like I'm already starting to like feel that energy where I just kind of feel like with everything I have going on outside of my life right now, like outside of the gym, I can still train every day and be there like mentally to like keep learning. But I think it would take away from the learning I want to do for Euros if I'm kind of rushing into JJWL. So I'm probably gonna just keep training my ass off. Um, and just kind of stay like building that mindset for Euros. I think that's what I'm gonna wind up doing.
That's super sick. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
I think
Fucking
that's what
Doug
it feels like.
Robinson fucking doing jujitsu. From the world. That's fucking sick, though. Yo, who would have ever thought fucking I think the last time I saw you, I was fun. The last time I saw you, I sold you a bike part. A you bought something for your bike. We were in front of the Staten Island Ferry. Remember, I used to work at One New York Plaza, right across the street from the Staten Island Ferry, and you bought a bike part off of me right in front of this. You rode down and bought some.
Wait,
Yes, Doug, that's fucking me, bro.
wait. Was it by the what? What?
Battery Park, like right Battery Park, right into the right in front of the Staten Island Ferry. We met up, and
Oh
you bought
my
a bike part off of me.
god!
That was the last time I saw you.
What did I buy? It wasn't bars, was it?
It could have been the bars or a crane shaft,
That's
crankshaft,
that's
or the
insane,
handlebars.
dude.
Yeah,
Wow, that's so
that's how long
crazy.
ago it was. It was so long ago because previously, before that, it was that Warp Tour when I was working for Ecovision. That
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
last time. That was the last time that we like bumped in, and then we
Dude, I
did.
don't think I've ever put any of that together because I think I remember seeing you at a show at one of our like last shows. Like, did you
Yep.
go to Vitus or
No, I
where?
went to your no, because I was already moved.
Yeah,
No,
which one?
I went. No, the final show that I saw from you was the Sleepings final show. That was the last
That's
show.
so
Other than
crazy.
Warp Tour, that Warp Tour. That's
Yeah,
it.
that's so crazy, man. I remember vaguely the bike part. Like, that's
Yeah, you rode
insanity,
down.
dude.
I was like, yo, I'm here. Fucking I'm coming down right now. I sold you a fucking bike part. And I was like, fuck yeah. Doug Robinson fucking bought a bike part from me. Yeah,
Dude,
motherfucker.
that's so sick. That's
It's
fucking
so crazy.
insane.
But what I'm hoping for is in the future, now you're a part of this podcast forever, bro. So, I
Hell
mean,
yeah.
in the future, I would love for us to get maybe a second episode in the future,
Oh,
maybe
dude, I'm down.
after Euros, sit down, chop it up, bullshit, and then hopefully we get to talk about that new shit that you can't really talk about, but we're gonna talk about it maybe some other time.
Yeah, no, I'm down, dude. I'd love to come back. I mean, like, it's funny. I do want to say this too. Like, I I'm seeing a lot of musicians training, and I really want to meet up with more of them to ask if they do because they feel the same way I feel. Like, everybody has their own connections to things, right? Of course, right? Everyone has their own reasons for why they obsess over jujitsu or like things they obsess over, right? But like I think it I think there's something really connected between musicians and falling in love with this. Like the way I feel, I'm really curious if people feel like that exact same way. Like especially like touring musicians. Like I don't know, like it. I see such a similarity, and then when I start realizing in the circuit, more and more people I know train. I'm like, you've got to feel the way I feel. It's not just like a new thing you're obsessed with. Like there's got to be this connection between how musicians view jujitsu. Like it's got to be the
Wow.
same wavelength.
Well, funny that you say that. So there's a podcast called the Grind and Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, and we actually been interviewing a lot more musicians.
That's
So
sick.
previously we had have you heard of the band Currents? They're like
Yeah,
top
yeah,
of the
yeah, yeah.
charts right now. So
Yep.
Chris Purgarin, I think he's the guitarist or the bassist of Currents. He trains. He was on the pod, and this might be a throwback for you, but I'm pretty sure you're gonna remember Affiance. Remember that band Defiance from Boston? I mean, Ohio? It's Ohio or
I don't
Boston?
know. I mean, it sounds familiar,
The
but
rock
yeah,
band from that rock band that they're playing rock band in their living room and they fucking blew
yeah,
up off of that shit. Well,
yeah.
he fucking the guitarist trains too. So I did a little podcast with him. I'm trying to get music and jujitsu together because I
It's
feel,
awesome.
you know, yeah, I feel like and I've not played big shows like you guys, but dabbling in the music and really and being around five other dudes, five other personalities, and just making something that sounds so good and feels good. Like when I went into jujitsu, like all I kept thinking about is I want a soundtrack to this. Like I want to do jujitsu and have a mental soundtrack that I'm like playing in my head and I'm like and I'm just fucking going ham in my head. And
Yeah, yeah.
it just mellows me out. It fucking mellows me out. It really does. It's so crazy. It's crazy
You
where music and jujitsu.
it is, man. It's honestly crazy. It's something I would have never in my life thought I would get into. I never would have thought it. I don't watch like UFC. I don't fucking follow any of it like at all. So I like never would have thought I would get into it. You know what I mean? Like I didn't do karate as a kid. Like, I just like went about life just kind of whatever. And I didn't even like jujitsu the first time I trained. I mean, I,
That's
I
right.
was like,
That's right.
I was like, yeah, I don't like this. Like, it's just not for me. And now it's like annoyingly all I think about besides music. You know what I mean? Like, my wife either hears me like complain, she either hears me like complain, she either hears me talk about music, she either hears me talk about jujitsu, or she either hears me complain about music and complain about jujitsu. Like it's literally like it,
It's
it's
a part of you now. That's
it's
it.
like a part of me. And it's
It's
cool,
a
and I'm
part of
glad
you
it is
now.
because now it doesn't feel like I'm going to work out or anything. It's just like I gotta go. You know what I mean? It now has, like you just said, it's a part of you. Like there's moments where like you're doing things to go through the motions of getting to a point where then you go like, oh, this is a part of my life, right? Like I'm vegan. I've been vegan for almost 10 years. For a while, you're just like you're trying to be vegan, whatever, you're trying to eat better. But now like I don't it's not even I'm vegan. It's just like it's just my life. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
how finally that's how jujitsu feels. It's like, oh, and this is only recently I've that knot has twisted where I'm like, oh yeah, like this is a part of my life now, and it's like always going to be, you know. And I really owe a lot of that to Professor Bobby and the gym and everybody at the gym. Like I wouldn't be into it if it was a gym that didn't feel this good. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, this is whack, but I'm so grateful to really have found a place where I'm like, oh, okay, like this is this is like-minded people who are great people. You know, even my wife, I'll never forget. I'll never forget. After my first competition, myself, Eric, the purple belt I was mentioning, and Jess, who is an amazing, amazing person, and I train with him. He's like my partner. He's giant. I mean, he weighs like, what does he weigh? Like two. What did he say he was? Like 260, and he's like 6'5" or something crazy. Like
Oh
he's a
my
beast,
God.
right?
Football player.
And
Yeah.
and he was a football player. He actually was like a college player. And and Professor Bobby, like he in my first competition, he started putting me with Jess, and Jess helped me so much too. And I need to shout Jess out too. He's like my boy, like he's the man, and he helped me so much. He helped me learn so much, and I love that dude. After the first comp, myself, Jess, and Eric and my wife went to get some food because I was finally able to eat again. Blah blah blah. And you know we're all eating, and you know, some guy comes in and he comes into the restaurant. He's like asking for money, and you could tell he's definitely like he's not there mentally, right? And
Okay.
he leaves, and we just kept eating, you know. And he like came up to our table. He was like, you know, trying to engage with us, but we are like, hey man, like sorry, you know, we're just eating, right? And then we just kept eating when he left. And I remember we got home, and my wife was like, you know, she's like, I never understood the jujitsu thing. And she's like, after today, she's like, I realize like your gym, she's like, they're very good people. And I was like, what gave you that notion? Because she had spent the day at the competition with everybody. And she was like, well, everybody's so fucking nice. And she's like, I just knew that you were around good people when that incident happened where the person came in and like nobody made fun of him when he left. Nobody shit talked the guy. Like everyone just kept eating. And my wife was like, I don't know. She's like, I just felt something really great there. And like, I don't even know if they realized it in that way, but she's like, I've realized that like you really are around very good people. And I just remember being like, man, that's so fucking sick. Like that's awesome that she sees that because like that's that's how I've wanted my wife to see jujitsu. Not like, you know, my wife sees like Joe Rogan when she thinks jujitsu, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now she understands it on a surface level of how I want her to understand it. And it's really cool, you know. It makes me happy that like when I told her about going to Portugal and stuff, she's like, fuck yeah, you know, like she like gets it. So it's
But
cool.
she's going. So that's lit.
Yeah.
You make it
Yeah,
into a
dude.
vacation. Well,
Yeah.
Doug, we're at an hour and 40 minutes. You are officially the longest episode on the Grinded Jiu-Jitsu podcast history, bro. And I
I
really
talk too
appreciate.
much.
No, I don't listen. That's what the podcast is for, bro. Like, you don't
Yeah.
even understand. Like, for me, this is a surreal moment. Once I could get a musician, and not for nothing, an accomplished musician, I want to hear your experience in jujitsu because it's like I'm in your shoes, and I was in your shoes freaking 10 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in
Yeah.
your shoes, and
Totally.
like I'm hearing it all over again, and it makes my heart feel great that you're experiencing jujitsu the way I experience it now. The love, and
Yeah.
I can hear the love of jujitsu in you. And it's like I just want other musicians to, like I'm gonna share this. We're putting this out to the public, and the public is gonna hear your love and obsession for a martial art, a sport that we love, and now they get to experience just a taste of it, and maybe they start their journey, and musicians start their journey, and then we have a metal musician battle royale tournament for
Hell
fucking
yeah,
ten
dude. That would
thousand
actually
dollars
be
for
that would be
charity,
so sick.
$10,000 for charity, and we blow this shit up. I'm trying to blow this shit up. And Doug, you
Yeah.
have helped me progress on that dream, honestly. Before we go, do you have any shout outs or for your sponsors, friends? This is your time. Let them know where they can find you.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I just want to thank everybody at Unity JC. I mean, like, I really do, man. And like, I'm gonna forget people's names, but like everybody there, like seriously, like
Smart move.
everybody, like, like, no, for real, like only because I can't name. I could probably name everybody, but
No,
I
that's what
can't.
I'm saying.
But like
Smart.
everybody means so much to me. And of course, like Professor Rafael Babylonia, Liz, super, super grateful for her as well. She's helped me so much with weight training. Something I never ever wanted to do in my life was like actually lift weights and like, do things to prep in other ways that like I never thought I would do. And I really appreciate her for that. My wife and I see her as well. My wife, like, my wife was never the type to like really want to like lift weights, and now she sees Liz as well, and I just like have to give a huge shout out to her as well. Linguini, um and the people I mentioned, Jess, Eric, Steven, of course Harold,
You said you
everybody,
weren't gonna
Ross,
name them because
Austin.
you're gonna
Yeah,
miss
no,
their name and they're gonna kick your
everybody,
ass.
dude. Damien, I mean, like everybody's really awesome. Brian, Jason, our Nogi professor, um, you know, um,
Uh,
everybody's awesome. And, like I said, like Jess, Eric, Steven, Harold have like really held it down for me. And that really means a lot. Jesse as well, Jesse is like another great dude. None of you guys know any of these people, but I'm shouting them
yeah.
out because they've helped me so much. And, I really want to thank Unity as a whole for giving this world to me. You know what I mean? Like putting me in this world inadvertently. Like I never thought I would proverbially drink the Kool Aid, and I really do care about it so much on a level that like I finally realize it's more than just like a workout. It's more than just showing up to a class. Like I like really want to be there, and like I really want to learn. And I just have to thank everybody there, Joel as well. Like I got to thank like everybody there for really being awesome. Professor Natan as well. I mean, so many people. I mean,
So many.
there's Jason, of course, I already mentioned, but
It's gonna be endless because at the end,
yes,
everybody in the gym has a part in your journey, and your journey
totally.
is just starting. You have the rest of your life to continue this beautiful art. Any sponsors?
No,
No sponsors. He said, "Fuck
I
that."
got no. The guy, like, yeah, no, not
Record
yet.
shop.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I would love to shout out Vinyl Addiction. And yeah, like I mentioned, I work at a record store. Vinyl Addiction, it's the best place in the world. That's the other thing, right? Like I have so many home away from homes. Like it's like the gym and the record store and my house, my apartment are like literally the three places I'm always at. You know what I mean? Like that's it. And it's funny because if I can't train, it's because I'm at the shop. And if I'm home, it's because I have to be home for something. You know what I mean? It's like it's just so funny. But yeah, I mean, I have so much going on in my life that I'm really
Vinyl
excited
addiction,
for.
right?
Yeah, Vinyl Addiction in North Arlington, New
Vinyl
Jersey.
North
Yeah,
Arlington.
yeah,
That's what's up.
great spot. I mean, it's the best spot. I love it. I'm very fortunate to work there too. Shout out Dave, who's the owner, who's my best friend. He's like my brother. Um, yeah, I mean, thanks for having me, dude. I
Nah,
I can like talk about
absolutely,
it all
bro.
night, man. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
bro, I'm telling you, listen, keep some of that because I'm definitely bringing you back on because a lot of people get nervous on podcasts and you were able to keep the conversation going. And I love that you are totally down and you're totally grinding jujitsu. And I love it. I'll do my little shout outs. Shout out
Yeah.
to Ant versus Evil Designs. He designs the flyer for the podcast. This podcast would not be going on without him. Thank you so much, Ant. We're going to make this shit blow up. Please like, comment, subscribe. Give us a few likes, man. Let's get this podcast up and let's get this out to the world, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Grinding Jiu-Jitsu podcast. Take it easy, everyone. Us. We are out in
Hell yeah.
5, 4,